Peace and love. What's happening, y'all? Happy Sunday. This is Stacy Patrice here on the Rebuild Foundation Network, joining you for another Soul Healing Satsang. We are here every Sunday. I am at Soul Yogini SP. Every Sunday, I take over the Rebuild channel from about 1 to 2 p.m., definitely starting at 1, but sometimes a little closer to 2, but typically an hour. Happy Sunday. Peace, peace, peace. So, as everybody's joining the room, just as a quick um, primer, we meet here to have conversations about truth. We meet here to have conversations that include ways in which the collective can grow, ways in which we can speak with each other, talk with each other, and heighten our abilities to be conscious humans, creators, elevators, motivators, activators, all those wonderful things. So if you're in one of those categories, please tune in to us on Sundays. Join us here. Stay for the chat today. And be reminded that this is an exchange, right? This conversation, I always kick off. I always start, as I have been doing for the past 5 years, with Rebuild on Sundays in physical space. And so now here on the Satsang, we definitely have this kind of connection with each other where we're able to clear our minds and prime our minds for what's ahead, for what we're dealing with, for how we've made it through. It's really a celebration space. It's really a ceremony space, a sacred space, if you ask me. And I think everyone needs to be celebrated, not only for the work that they've done, but for the courageous and often invisible work that each of us do off off camera, that each of us do, in our everyday lives. It doesn't always have to be saving the world that we campaign and celebrate. Some of us are saving people very quietly in ways in which transformation is taking place and people are running with it, but it's not always necessarily advertised. So in this space, we get together, we talk. I know there are powerful creators that tune in every Sunday, as I know myself as a creator as well, and a powerful creator. And I wanted to make sure that we have the ability to connect with our soul group in this space and be able to elevate what we're about. So thank you for joining us. Today, for today's Satsang, I decided to speak on how we can enhance humanity. And this is a topic that's kind of been a thread through all of the Satsangs. We've been doing the Satsang since the first Sunday where everyone was, ordered to shelter in place. So this has been a weekly thing. If you want to see the archive, it's at stacypatrice.com. And then there's also some in the archive right here on the Rebuild Foundation page. But the idea is that we are here to really elevate, enhance humanity. And sometimes it's easy to think that elevating and enhancing humanity means that we're trying to help other people, that we're making them better, that we somehow have the job of taking all of our gifts and putting them out there. And what I want to kind of talk about this particular Sunday is, how do you enhance and elevate humanity within yourself? How do you get to the place where who you are and who you're being and what you contribute is enough? That is your version of enhancing humanity. I know there's a lot of folks in the world, in our community, that are caping to help other people, and we cannot be upset about that. We are all gloriously blessed when we help and we have people who are in leadership to help others. So this is no knock to that. This is about making sure that you are elevating humanity within yourself, because we're not always able to reach all of the people that we would like to reach with our message. Sometimes we find ourselves being in a position where we actually have to be the example of it. We actually have to go first. We actually have to be the person to stick our neck out first. We have to be the one that other people will see as a recognition of that example. And so what I want to talk about today is just how we elevate that humanity within ourselves. How do we enhance that humanity within ourselves so that we're not so busy trying to teach and guide and tell other people who to be, but we're being the example of that, which allows other people to join in or be inspired or catch the spark, right? And this at first didn't seem like a conversation that we could riff on for an hour. And at first I was like, I'm not really sure that that's the Satsang for today. And then something happened that let me know that it absolutely was. And here's what I'll say to that. In so many instances, there are things going on simultaneously. And we're fighting in a lot of ways right now in this period of time for what we consider to be human rights. We are looking for justice. We're looking for safe places for us to be, live, and exist. We're looking for ways to create a better world. We're looking for ways to elevate the way that we live our lives. Are we having the most enhanced lifestyle possible to support who we decide to be in the world? We're looking for deeper connections to our soul. How did people before us do this? How did our ancestors do this? How did humanity devolve, it seems, into this place? And how is it possible to ever get out of this mess? It just seems continuous, right? And so one of the answers that I have for that is we got ourselves in the position to be able to strengthen ourselves through this example. It doesn't mean we're responsible or at fault for anything that's happening. It means whatever is happening, there's something for us in it. It means that regardless of who's guiding, leading, directing, terrorizing, that there is a lesson, there is a purpose in what it is that we're experiencing. And it is up to us. Like I said last week, it's no one else's responsibility. It's up to us to make meaning of that space, of that time, of that example, of that chaos, of that lesson, and become more powerful creators in it. And so I started to think about humanity. Like, what is humanity? You know, we often talk about being humans. We talk about the state of humanity. We talk about we have to help humanity. Do we actually know what humanity is? And I'm not talking about a textbook definition. I'm talking about, do we have an idea of what that really means to us? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have rights as a human, to live in an existence as a human? And I'll build on this later as to why I'm asking this question this way. But I want you all to start to drop in the comments. What does humanity mean to you? In the most tangible definition that you can muster, drop in the comments what humanity means to you, because we don't all start from the same place with these definitions. We always start with a definition because it's important to define what we're talking about and know how others define it, so that when we're communicating, we're able to understand where other people are coming from. So what is humanity? What does humanity mean? What does it mean to be human? And if you like, you can even add, what is your experience in being human per your definition? So add that in the comments. As you all are speaking in the comments and sharing and enlightening others with your light, I would like to share an example of ways in which I see humanity thriving right now. And maybe this will inform some definitions, or maybe it will coincide and complement others. When we think about what's happening in the world right now, we think about the world as this huge, big place, but it is simply a macrocosm of what's happening locally, right? So if we all get to the understanding and the idea that what's happening in our individual and personal lives is also indicative of what's happening at the world at large, it starts to make sense that things are duplicating and happening so fast and so rapidly, right? A lot of times we think that we are going through an experience, it's new, we're learning it for the first time, and that there may not be others who understand it, there may not be others who are doing it. And then we realize when we start to speak up and share about it, that it's almost unanimous that people are going through the same things, that there are people in faraway spaces from different cultures, from different backgrounds, different examples, different ways they live their lives, different financial brackets, different codes in how they speak and how they live and talk and move and work and share, that are going through the exact same things, right? And so sometimes what we think is an issue of a particular group of humans is actually an issue in general for humans, and it specifically targets a particular group of humans. So what ends up happening is we start to look at what's happening as a very personal thing, and then we realize that it affects so many different people. It doesn't mean it's the same side of the coin, right? We can be affected on the tail side or something. We can say, man, that really sucks that this is impacting me like this. And then the people who are interested in keeping that thing going that's impacting you negatively are on supposedly the head sides of the coin, thinking, man, I have to do a lot of work to really keep this up. I'm going crazy trying to keep this thing going to impact those people this way, right? So it's always a human issue at the end of the day. It's always something that people are feeling no matter where they are, if it's affecting humanity. And this is why we're looking for these definitions, because humanity to me definitely encompasses how we move on this planet, how we move in this world, and what are our interconnections? What are we responsible for? What are we required to do? When are we being exceptional humans? And we have to identify this on this call today. When are we being exceptional humans versus when we're just being humans, right? A lot of us are being exceptional humans and think that this is just what it is, right? And the reason we're being exceptional is because the conditions that surround us require us to dig really deep, require some of us to soul search on such a profound level. require us to really look at the interconnectedness of things and actually create solutions that our peoples can pick up, evolve, and extend across who lives on the planet at the time with them. It's very hard sometimes to imagine that we are just here existing and that's it. We are definitely existing, but even existing can be challenging for some of us. Even existing can be challenging. And I think that is the pinnacle of where we are right now, is that existing has become challenging. It doesn't mean it was never challenging, but it is becoming increasingly challenging. There are more people who are affected by just waking up, living life, and being on this planet. And so, what is the level of compassion and creation we have to address this level of human concern? And I'll start with some of your definitions so we're all speaking from the same place here. Just going to scroll back a bit from the first answer I saw. So treating people right and fair. We deem humanity as treating people right and fair. That is what humanity means to us. Okay. So there's a form of justice. Justice is similar to or equal to humanity. Okay. I can rock with that. Working together for the greater good. Okay. So we look at humanity as being something that we do that involves each other, that is not separate from each other. It's us being together. So when we're not being together, is that still humanity? That's a sub question for that definition. It's still humanity if we're not working together for the greater good. The next definition I see here, to me, humanity means at the base level an understanding and sympathetic consideration to others' life. I like this. To me, humanity means at the base level. The base level. So this goes to back to what I was saying about exceptional humans and those of us that are existing and still being great humans. At the base level, an understanding and sympathetic consideration to others' life. So us being here, us speaking about humanity, a lot of us have definitions that speak to the more positive aspects of humanity, the way we would like humanity to be, the way we would like to experience humanity, the way that we see and understand humanity. So would we say that we are living in our definition of humanity? Are we living in our own definition? If it's all the great and wonderful things, are we living in our own definition, and why not? And here's why I ask that question, because I understand humanity to be a collective, to be a group of people who are similar in nature. Notice nature. It doesn't mean we're not unique. It doesn't mean we're not different and don't have different experiences, but who are similar in nature. And in that nature, that means we have certain inclinations to experience certain things while we're here. We have certain inclinations to be and to do and to have and to experience. What I would add into humanity, and this is my definition of humanity, is that even though we are humans and we are a collective, our consciousness is what governs the state of our humanity, right? Our consciousness governs the state of our humanity. We can be a group of people here together and not be on the same page. We can be a group of people here together and refuse to pay attention to anything but the distractions. We can be a group of people here together and not realize how interconnected our experiences and our lives are. So what really makes us humanity? I believe it is rising to that occasion of our consciousness while we are here. What if we said we are here to gather consciousness and to use what we know to advance humanity? What if we are here to gather consciousness and to use that consciousness to advance humanity? That there's somewhere we're looking to be, that we're looking to be in that beautiful definition of humanity, that we recognize when we are and are not there, and we begin to use our consciousness and creativity to shift the narrative towards something that feels more like the kind of humanity that perhaps we know in our heart and souls, right? If anybody feels anything different than that definition, you can also drop that in the comments. But that's kind of the framework that I understand humanity. It's a collective, and we are stronger when we help each other. But the real fact is that everybody has a different reason they came to this planet. Everybody on the soul level is not here for the same reasons. So how do we get past the idea of all of us being uniform, all of us being the same, all of us here for the same reason, and get to the place where we actually find the commonality of why we're here? We actually get to the place where we start to talk about what we do have in common and allow space for us to function in the things we don't have in common, so that everybody is changing the levels and the EQ of humanity in a way that represents different subgroups within this larger group, right? We have this large group of humanity that may not have a lot of things in common on the surface, other than being biologically human. But we have seen, felt, experienced, and learned that people being biologically human is not enough to help us to all exist and thrive in a way that is suitable for the individual. And so I think a lot of times, and maybe we have some evidence of this now, it's very easy to reach out and say, come on, humans, let's get together and do this, right? But here is what I've been thinking about and meditating about humanity all week, is that there are certain codes, and I'm gonna go all the way there. There are certain codes within humanity that govern different subgroups of humanity. Let's call them something similar to tribes, something similar to groups of people who have commonalities. I call them soul groups. There's lots of different names that lots of people call this, right? There are codes within our humanity that identify who people are, give certain people clearances and clearances and access, and deny others that. And they are unspoken codes. They are codes that display and pop before us all the time. I'll give you a brief example. You come on Instagram. I'm looking in the comments. I don't see many verified accounts, right? I don't see the blue checks. Does that mean that what we're talking about is less important? Does that mean that the people here are less human than people with blue checks? Does that mean that we should only listen to people who have earned a blue check as an authority for how we should live our lives and who to follow, right? Little codes that show up in different ways that have us divide and separate and become masters of knowing how people are different than we are. And this is not a divisive conversation. This is not about let's all be different and skip each other. This is a connecting conversation that says, let's all acknowledge the ways in which we are different. Let's all acknowledge the ways in which these codes exist. And let's start to create a structure around the people who are operating under the same exact code that we're operating under, right? I want us to really think about what groups and subgroups of humanity do you belong to? Let's go ahead and put these in the comments. And the reason I say this is because in order to be self-mastered, in order to be reliant upon what you know, what you understand, and how you want to live, you have to know where you are on the spectrum. You have to be able to understand that being an artist is one thing, right? And so you might vibe with other artists in a particular way. But let's say there are people who do not share a category with you and you vibe with them. What is it in our humanity that you account for that? Let's drop that in the comments. When you find people that don't carry the same roles, they don't have the same background, they're not necessarily the same gender or the same race or the same belief systems, but there's still a connection. What does this speak to in our humanity? And the reason I want to go here on this conversation is because there's a lot of other places we can go when we start to identify what is it that we're really connecting with, right? In the comments, go ahead and share what that is. I'll go back to a few of these comments that came up as I was speaking. Embracing each other's common connections and celebrating our unique gifts. So as a definition of humanity, embracing each other's common connections and celebrating our unique gifts. Absolutely. I think it's also important to embrace the parts of ourselves that are different, right? Because we each have a role to play. But I think it's exceptionally important to celebrate our commonalities. It's exceptionally important to realize ways in which we are just like others as well. Everyone becomes human at a different pace, so embracing each other's growth process so we all elevate. Everyone becomes human at a different pace, so embracing each other's growth process so we all elevate. Okay, so this brings me to a very interesting point in the conversation. Humanity is like a spiritual walk, not just something you are born as. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you clarified that. Thanks, Tiffany. Here's what I'll say about this. When we talk about enhancing humanity, which is the subject of today's satsang and is the subject of today's satsang, what is it that we can do as humans? And this is so key. I'm going to say this very slow. What is it that we can do as humans that potentially can help others while radiating within ourselves the kind of light that we hope to share with others without putting ourselves in detriment and destitute condition in order for it to exist? What is it that we can do that possibly can help others while radiating the light within ourselves without putting ourselves in destitute or detrimental conditions as we are living it? And leave in the comments if you're even concerned about that. Because I think that when we're speaking about humanity, a lot of times we automatically go to what we can all do. We automatically go to how we can get everyone involved. Do we know where we're going yet? Do we know where we're headed? Do we have a strong sense of what it is we're looking to gain? And is it okay if it's not the same as your immediate circle? Is it okay if it's not the same as the people you surround yourself with the most often? Do you feel that there is some separation if you create a cause and you believe in something that involves others that is not the common denominator for most of the people that you currently know? This is so critically important because we have innovators, we have scientists, we have geniuses, we have pioneers, we have creators, we have people who are constantly looking for that next edge of what to do and what has not been done. And often when we see that at work, we as a group of humans tend to condemn that person or tend to condemn that activity because we don't understand it yet. We don't see it as something that is beneficial for the whole. We don't necessarily see the inclusion in it. And there are things every day that are inclusive and exclusive. And we choose and select per what it is that makes us feel fulfilled and what we think is right? What we think is just, right? And sometimes we have to check our morals and see if what we do is really in line with what we think is just, or does it just benefit us right now? Is it really just what we're doing, or are we just trying to get to an end to a means, right? And so I look at all of this and I want you all to share with me, what is it that we can do in humanity as humans that allows the narrative to evolve, but is self-fulfilling first? In other words, is there something about you that is not like most people you know, but you don't have anybody to represent it? That there are people in humanity that actually, I'm going to use the word suffering. I'm going to say that there are people in humanity that can be suffering because either they're waiting on someone to step up, or they are afraid to step up, or their voice has been condemned when they step up, or that they are representing something that is either so far out or so far gone or so far fetched that they don't have the rallying of support and compassion around them that would enable that to also be a case. Do we just bully people into doing what we think is best for humanity, or do we really allow all of humanity to have a voice? This is such an important question for us to talk about today, because what I have been seeing and what a lot of you have been seeing online, whether you're a celebrity, whether you've got a blue check, whether you have no check, no credentials next to your name, we have been seeing people speaking out about what would feel right for us, and seeing people lose the fight of what they think is right because there are not enough people in their circle to back them up and speak to it. It's perfectly fine to surround ourselves with different intellectuals, but on the same vibe. I can dig that. The visions of others we can't yet see is always to some degree seen as blasphemy. Yes, yes. I'll give an example, and I don't want to start anything controversial on this thread, so this is not the energy I'm going to invite. But I will say this: the courage that it takes to be a leader, or let's erase the word leader. The courage that it takes to speak out about something that's important to you and to share it with a group of people who are going to have an opinion off the top based on what you're sharing, or might develop an opinion after they've heard what you're sharing, may not even let you finish after they have gotten wind of what direction you may be going under, without knowing the whole backstory and the whole entire experience that leads to that viewpoint, is what I think we're dealing with right here, right now. I can say for a fact that everything everyone does makes complete and total sense if you know the history, right? Generic statement. If you know who somebody is and all that they've been through, then their actions are going to speak to that and make perfect, complete, and total sense. You don't get a beautiful human who hasn't been tried, tested, and created some messes for themselves, created some hot water for them to sit in, created some shunning and unpopular opinions. You don't get a beautiful human, I don't think, without some of that. Just like you don't get a beautiful piece of art without really trying and testing the materials and saying, I'm not really sure how I'm going to get to the vision that's in my head here in the human form, or here in the physical form, but I'm doing my best to keep iterating until I get there. Do we give people a chance to get there? Do we give ourselves, this is the most important part of the conversations, do we give ourselves an opportunity to get there? What is it that you are doing? Comments. What is it that you are doing as a human, or that you would like to do as a human, that you have stopped so many times because you haven't given yourself an opportunity to get there? You know, deep in your heart, it would positively impact and affect other people if you could just get through it, if you could just get past your fears about it, if you could just know on the other side there would be a bright light that would allow you to continue your work. If you would just be in a position where you could really share with others the deep impact and meaning of what it is that you're thinking about. This is your own thought, not something someone asked you to do. What are those things that you would like to do? What are those things that you've attempted, that you've tried? And because you didn't have the rallying support of humanity, you stopped dead in your tracks and stopped doing it. What are those things? Y'all sound off in the comments. I'm asking you to share these things because we are powerful in measure as humans without having the rallying. We are powerful in measure as humans just for having the thought, the vision, and the courage. We have to rally behind that. Enhancing humanity does start with each one of us as an individual. What are the things that we can do to start to share with each other how important what it is that we're here for can be to humanity, should we be able to follow through on it? Going back to a few comments here. It's perfectly fine. Oh, I read that one. Yeah, we do bully people into boxes that we have found comfort in the discomfort. Definitely bullying, see people on social media. Yeah, what are people getting bullied for, though, if you think about it? I think people get bullied for being individuals. I think that's the state of our humanity. People get bullied for being individuals. Even individuals we can't stand have the right to be an individual. Do we know how powerful we are as humans? Even the ones we can't stand have the right to be an individual. And the ones we love have the right to be an individual. So then this brings in something I've been hashtagging for a while now, which is hashtag loving louder. How do we get louder in our love as humans? How do we get to the point where we love the people who are courageous individuals and step up and show them more love? I think in this time we've been attempting to do that, supporting businesses, supporting views, opinions, and politics, and doing that. But I'm talking about the very innate human stuff that comes with the soul who incarnates on this earth as a human. What about that? What about what they stand for? That doesn't have a system yet. That doesn't have a group of people yet. That doesn't have a crowd and a rallying cry yet. What can we do to support those people and be just as compassionate to ourselves and supporting ourselves in that particular state? I'm not going to talk this whole hour. I definitely want to hear from you all. I definitely want us to chime in with passion about what it is we each have to share that maybe we have stopped, and maybe we have stopped loving about ourselves because there is not evidence in the scene that this is something that needs to occur and needs to happen, even though we already got the vision that told us differently, right? What is that for you all? People reflect the hatred of themselves on those that are different. Yeah, and you know, we're all narcissistic in the sense that we love what we are. We love sameness. We love people who are just like us. We say all the time, we want to be around and surrounded by people who are like us. How can we uncover the parts of us that haven't gotten a voice yet, haven't gotten a chance to speak? And the work that I do that I call soul healing, my main job is to guide people to the uncovered self. That's what I do when I'm not on here. That's what I do day in, day out, sun up, sun down. I guide people to the uncovered self. I am part of my work. I am not excluded from my work. I guide people to the uncovered self. We've seen all of this a million times, so much so that we repeat it and it cycles back around. What are we missing in humanity that says to us, we have to get to the uncovered self? And why are we so afraid of it? When we see people who are stepping out and saying something for the first time, why do we so quickly shut it down and want it to go back to where it is, back to where we're comfortable? There are people who people consider to be crazy because they have decided, I don't want to be in these comfortable spaces of life anymore. I'm tired of living in the folds and in a reality that has already existed. It doesn't work anymore. We're not advancing. How do we get to the place where we can actually advance the uncovered self? Who do we need to be around? What do we need to experience? And how do we need to adjust our own lifestyles to be with the uncovered self? This is a big question. Some of the people who are here today, are not going to understand this question for a time. It's not because it's complex, it's because it's thick, right? What do we need to do to challenge the uncovered self to come out? Because who we are is part of our humanity, and who we are not showing is also part of our humanity. Who we believe in and who we shun is also part of our humanity. Who we support and get behind and the reasons why, and the people who we don't get behind is also part of our humanity. I'm not saying we shouldn't have an idea, a concept, or an opinion, or that we shouldn't have a stand or take a stand. But are we really aware and conscious of why we take the stands that we do? Are we really aware and conscious of how our behavior shuts down people? And are we really so married to an illusion that we don't know the difference between someone showing up as something and representing to us who they are, and the dividing line between us not drinking the Kool-Aid and thinking that we have to be who they are to understand where they're coming from? We don't have to be who somebody is to understand where they're coming from. We do have to understand that where they're coming from is where they're coming from. And I'm only talking about this so passionately because I love humans and all of our colors. I truly do. There's nobody who knows me who can say anything different, not a single soul. I love us, y'all. I love us. But we got to stop getting caught on the hook of trying to make other people in our image. We have to stop getting, and a lot of our religion is tied up in this, y'all. We have to get ourselves off of the hook of thinking that once we look alike, then we have done our job. Once we are all the same, we live in the earth that we're supposed to live in. Once we all are doing the same thing and working together as one unit, and that unit looks the same for each of us, that's the world we want to live in. That's actually the world we're trying to avoid, y'all. We're not trying to all be the same. We are trying to work together. That is the world we're living in. We are trying to work together. But are we all trying to be the same? Are we all trying to be the same exact person? No. We want to be individuals. We yearn to be who we are. We don't want to have to steal, copy, thieve, rob, duplicate, replicate, revolutionize the same old crap for the rest of our lives. We want to move on. We want to be who we are. We want to uncover all the distractions, all the junk, all the crap, some scars we talked about last week, the impressions, the trauma. We want to get to the core of who we are and why the hell we're here. If we can't get to the core of who we are and why we're here, we're simply waiting in all of the other stuff that no one has taken the time to deal with and uncover. We just keep repeating it. Let's pass it down to our children. Let's pass it on to our family members. Let's shame people for not waiting in the crap when they step out and emerge and say something different. That's not what we want. And I can speak for humans and say that, because that is the human condition, is to be the best of who we can be. It's not to be the best of who someone else is. It's not to be the best of who someone says we should be. It's to be the best us that we can be. So how can we be the best us if every time a different version of us shows up, we shut it down? We have to learn that each of these voices belongs to humanity, which is why each of us are here. You don't have to like it, but we have to understand that. And then when we get to the point that we understand individuals and humans as mirrors, when we understand that someone's ill, whack, horrible behavior means to us that there's still more work to do. Not trying to make them work on them, but informing us about why does who they are bother us so much. We have then started to move into a new territory. We started to evolve the conversation with ourselves. We've started to put our hand into our self-mastery and say, you know, I can kind of mold this a little bit differently. Maybe this mold worked for this portion of life, but as humanity is changing and as conditions are changing, I don't necessarily fit in this mold anymore. I got to break that mold and start a new cast. And we talked about broadcasting in the Sat Sang a few weeks ago. So for those of you who are with me, we're back there. How are we able to do it? Yes, London, they call it shadow work in yoga philosophy and in psychological theory. It's shadow work. But I'm actually saying we got to put some light on our shadow work. We have to illuminate our shadow work. We have to get to the point where who people are being is just who they're being. We don't have to buy that that's the way we should go. But can't we allow it to exist? And this might sound too utopian for some of y'all, but I'm challenging you to think about this. I'm challenging you to think about the people who annoy you most, whether they're in your family, your workplace, on your TV screen, on your computer screen. I want you to think about the people who make you go, oh, right? The people who really drive you bonkers. The people who really put you in an ill space where you can't even stomach being around them. And I want you to ask yourself, where is that connected line between the people who drive you the most mad and the thing that you refuse to heal within yourself, the thing you refuse to look at in your own humanity? A lot of times it is the uncovered self. It is the part of you that is yearning to be heard, that is mad that someone else's voice is louder, or someone else seems to be winning, or someone else seems to be getting followers and influencers to their cause. And then you're not loving loud enough to get those same people who vibrate with you in that frequency. There's enough for all of us. Will we step up to be the frequency and create the broadcast that brings us in? This is not about one person having a mic or one type of person having a mic. This is about all of us having a mic. So when we all have the mic, how do we use it? What do we say? Do we love louder, or do we continue the things that are cycles that we want to rid ourselves of? Do we spend more time on the junk and the gunk and looking at all of the ill behaviors and the trauma? Or do we spend more time saying, okay, I have to unplug from some of that, because when I do, I get back to source. I get back to who I am. I get back to what's best for me and mine. And I share that in the hopes that other people will remember the way. This is not about not knowing, not having. We are lacking nothing. This is about remembering, reclaiming, recalling. And so we enhance humanity when we recall the uncovered self. When we say the part of us that has learned to be quiet when injustice is happening, the part of us that has learned to be defenseless and just be like, I'm just gonna have to turn the other cheek, I give up. The part of us that doesn't have the action behind our words, our faith, and our understanding. That's when we start to enhance humanity, when we say, hey, that part of ourselves has a stage too. There's a stage for all of this. It doesn't mean a platform. It doesn't necessarily mean a movement. It means there is space to start having those awkward reckonings with who we are that we are not sharing with anyone. Because those awkward reckonings, when we first encounter them from other people, sometimes we go, huh? What? And then in a few years, everybody's doing it. Or they get a big company behind them to push it, and now everyone's buying it. Or I've never seen that before, and now everybody who looks like them is coming to the forefront. Y'all see it. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. We have to get to that place in our own humanity where we become the person with the mic for what it is that we believe in. And we sometimes will take ridicule. We are sticking our necks out to be ourselves. Can you imagine we live in a world where we have to stick our necks out to be ourselves? To be ourselves. This is what we're talking about today. How do we enhance humanity? To stick our neck out to be ourselves, to uncover the uncovered self, to allow who we actually are to be seen and heard, even if we take some flack for it, even if we lose followers, even if we have people say, I don't know what she's on, I don't know what he's on, I don't know what they're on. We allow that uncovered self to speak. We cannot be afraid of our own nature. That's not humanity. We can't be afraid of our own nature. We can have fear, sure, but we can't be afraid of our own nature. It's so critically important for who we are to shine. All right, a couple of more comments here. It's hard for people to love people whose views they don't value. Why is that? You don't have to love them. You just have to allow it. You can love your views. You can say their views don't match my views. Their views don't make me a better person, but is that true? The people I can't stand the most grew me. The people I love the most supported me. There's a difference, right? You need people to support you. I'm not saying be absent of that. You need like-minded people to build with. But what about the people who grow you when you encounter them? Are we ready for growth? Are we fertile for growth? Are we allowing ourselves to blossom in the face of people who have absolutely no good towards us? Are we ready to grow where we start to find new solutions that are on a higher level of the physical stuff that we're dealing with? Are we willing to be multidimensional beings as humans? Yeah, it is heavy, London.
Be willing to do the shadow work and have compassion for the shadows of others. But what does that look like? What does that look like? Definitely a difference, but I've seen people ostracized. Yeah. So we can first decide not to be those people, right? We can also try and understand people and realize we're not ready. Or we realize we are ready. Or let's support the people because we understand what they are. We have to continue to see people ostracized. That's the only way things change. People who have the most ralliers at one point were the most ostracized. It's how it works. Or it goes the other way. People who are the most popular at a certain point become the most ostracized. We've seen it go both ways. We have probably experienced it both ways. But we also have to understand that this goodness, and this is where I want to get real into this topic and share with you all a little exercise before we get out of here. This goodness that we carry can't be dormant. This goodness that we carry, if you think of who you are as a package, right? And there are certain parts of this package you're conscious of, right? When you first get a gift, right? A lot of times what magnetizes you about the gift is the fact that it's pretty. It's in this beautiful wrapping. It's got this wonderful bow, and you can't wait to take it apart. You can't imagine what it is. The shape can be misleading. It might be a box, but it could be something small. It could be really valuable. You don't even know what's in there, right? You're just really, really happy and excited about this gift. This gift is so amazing. Oh my God. Then you realize someone took the time to give you a gift. Oh my God, you are so kind. And then in the back of your head, you're thinking, but I want to know what's in there though. I really want to see what this gift is before I get too happy about a gift. Because what if it's trash, right? I don't know if I'm really happy about this gift yet. So you start to get excited, you get happy, you see this gift, you start to open this gift up. And then as you open the gift up, you take the paper off, you take the wrapping off and the ribbon off, you get inside. Maybe there's another box inside. Oh, snap. And you do this too. Okay, cool. You take this other thing off. Then you get into the gift and you actually see the gift. And it's like there's a pause where your spirit is evaluating the gift, right? You're looking at it and you're trying to decide either based on what you know, based on what you feel, based on what you're expecting, or based on what you've seen, whether this is an adequate gift. You will almost immediately know whether you're going to use this gift, whether you like this gift, whether you're going to re-gift this gift, whether you're going to throw out this gift, donate this gift, whether you're going to just kind of throw it to the side in a drawer and never look at it again. Imagine that you as a human is this gift that I'm talking about. You might not have noticed how expensive the wrapping paper was 10 years ago. You may not have noticed how beautifully the ribbon and how seamless the paper was and how beautifully crafted it was 2 years ago. You may not have noticed that until now. You may not have even noticed with this gift how much time and consideration the person took to impart this gift in you. You may not have had a single clue, a single idea. You may not have even known about this gift, that there was somebody who was waiting for you to open it to see that they would feel good, that you felt good about what they gave you. You may not have even paid attention to that. To today, it might have been today when you realized to pay attention to that. It may not be a gift that you knew what to do with when you got it, and you put it on the side and put it in a drawer, and at a later date, you came back to it and said, oh, I understand this gift now. Is it possible that someone else knew this about me at a time that I didn't know this about myself? Is it possible that a friend of mine or whoever gave you the gift, whoever you say gave you the gift, knew something about you before you did? It's time to gift the gift to humanity. It's time to get out of the space of, I got these gifts, they in drawers and they in little pockets in my house, and this one's, I didn't even open it up. I never unwrapped it, but I got this gift. There is time for you to understand that all of the gifts that you have, wrapped, unwrapped, discarded, not looked at, there is space for them now. There is space for your gifts. There is space for you to be in a position to share your gifts. And it doesn't mean you're doing it for others' responses to your gifts. It means you're doing it so that you're living your gifts. All gifts don't have to be monetized. All gifts don't have to be shared on public platforms. All gifts don't have to have a huge rallying support for them to exist. But give the gifts. Give the gifts. When you start to give the gifts, your not only will your circle change, not only does your soul group change, not only does your magnetism change, but how you move in the world and how people respond to you changes. This is how you enhance humanity. Give up the gifts, man. They were given to you. Use them. You have them. Everybody doesn't have your same gifts. And it's not about everybody having your same gift. Can you celebrate the unique set of gifts you have? And I'm not talking about talents when I say gifts. I could be talking about resources. I can be talking about knowings, intuition, the way people respond to you, they used to call those soft skills. Oh, being okay with other humans, playing along, getting along well with the team, being in a position where you're able to understand and have empathy for others. Call them soft skills. Some skills are hardcore in 2020. What was soft is now the standard. You gotta have those skills. How can you survive into the next iteration of whatever's happening without those skills? How can you be self-reliant when systems are crumbling and things are falling apart if you don't rely on those skills? How can you be in a position where you know no matter what happens out there that you got control of what's going on in here? How can you be in that position if you never unearth and uncover those gifts? You gotta be excited about unwrapping them too. Don't let anybody else's face about a gift you got change the way you feel about your gift. Don't let anybody's face change the way you feel about your gift. You open a gift, you're excited. Everyone around you is like, oh, I don't want that. Good for you. This is my gift. And it was given to me because only I have the knowing to have the potential to do something with this gift. And it's up to me to create what I do with this gift. It is such a beautiful ability to be able to take your gifts, uncovered or otherwise, and be able to use them in a time like this. To be able to look at a time like this as several illusions and several truths commingling together. To understand our world as things you love, things you don't like, things you can't stand, and know that they all are existing together. That is humanity. They're all existing together. Now, in the beginning, I said something about some of us are being exceptional humans. And I have to get into that. Some of us are being exceptional humans. So what does this mean? This means that you can know that there's good, bad, and ugly and not react to all of it. Not go out and hurt people and harm people. Not put yourself in a position where you feel like you have to right other people's wrongs because they're doing it, but still doing the work that makes people have a place to go to be right, to do the work and to have the spaces to provide for people who are on the frequency of doing well, who are on the frequency of having higher consciousness, who are on the frequency of, I know that this is something that I can do because I have evidence of a community who does it and I have support of people who do that. So some of us are being exceptional humans. Put a high five in the comments if you're being an exceptional human. If you're being an exceptional human, put a high five in the comments. I'm asking you to do this because give yourself the roses first. You don't need everybody else to tell you how things are going. Give yourself the roses first. Are you being an exceptional human? Are you a person who is being an exceptional human? And how do you know you're being an exceptional human? Because you are still walking the hard, challenging path of your life without responding to everything that would tell you to sit down and don't worry about it, it's over. Give yourself the roses if you're being an exceptional human. Don't wait on anybody to give you an exceptional human award. You are. You're here. You're working on yourself. Yeah, working on it. That's all I'm talking about. I didn't say it was a destination. You're arriving anywhere. None of us arrive at the highest level of humanity, even if we get an award. Allow yourself to be an exceptional human and know when you are being that. And check yourself when you're not. Check yourself. Sometimes we get caught up. We get caught up when we see evidence of this everywhere. We get caught up. Something's bothering us. We're not in our center. We're off our square. Things happen. Too many things happen at once. Too many things are clouding our vision. Too many distractions. Too many other people's voices. Too many challenges. Too many survival instincts. Not enough peace. Not enough love. Not enough power. And so we start to feel we don't really have the ability to be an exceptional human. We got to fight the people who are not exceptional. Then aren't we focusing on that with them? How can we find solutions that don't focus on them and take the focus off of them and focus on the result that we want to see? Easier said than done. So if you are working on that on any level, you deserve, yes, an exceptional human award. This is not about other people's opinion about you being an exceptional human. Most of the work that exceptional humans do is invisible. We don't have evidence of it in the world. We just see that something's a little different. Or they're the people that are supportive, that are there for you. But there's not necessarily people telling other people that they're exceptional humans. There's not necessarily people saying, thank you so much for enhancing humanity and spending all the countless hours that we know nothing about doing the work that you do. Until it gets to a level that you think you might lose that human, or that human is no longer around, or they stop their work, that's when we start to give people their accolades. It's out of order. Give yourself the Exceptional Human Award first. When you go out in the world doing the work that you do, understand that you're doing the work of an exceptional human, and look for exceptional humanity. This is one of the biggest codes in a self-mastered life, is to look for other people who are exceptional. Look for other people who understand that this has to continue whether you get rewarded or awarded for it. Look for other people who give you hope and evidence that these kind of things exist. What is your community? What is your circle if you don't have other people striving in the way that you're striving? It doesn't mean ignore the rest of humanity. Help a section of humanity that hasn't gotten to the level that you've gotten to. But look to another section of humanity that pulls you up and tells you, hey, this is where you can go. These are the heights you can go to. We got to keep the evolution going, right? It's not important to become an exceptional human and then say, I give that up because no one else is striving for this. I give that up. I stay with you all. I give that up. No, you stay with them, help them, and you continue to strive. So we have to enhance humanity with ourselves. We can't speak about what humanity can look like until we've done it. We don't even know what humanity can look like until we've accomplished it, until we've gotten to a place where we get comfortable stepping out and stepping in the way that we can. We have to get to that place, right? We can't see it out there before we see it in here. We don't even know the exceptional humans around us until we do something exceptional. That's when we see them. We're like, wow, man, this person blows my mind every time, you know? And other people might not agree with you because they'll be like, yeah, I don't think there's anything exceptional about them. Cool. Keep that to yourself. Keep striving in the rhythm of the people who inspire you and cause you to be exceptional humans. So before we get out of here, a couple of more comments, and then I have one quick exercise for you before we leave. We have a tendency to tell each other who to be because of the times and the Black just survive mindset. My parents wanted me to endeavor in something that secured financial security and not speak to me. Yeah, a lot of us have gotten in a mentality of a group of people. We've been taught to have the mentality of a group and not the mentality of the individual. I'm not saying an independent person. I'm saying an individual, a person who knows who they are and lives according to who they know themselves to be. A lot of us got shorted in that way. And that's why I dedicate a lot of my work to adults, because I know how many of us got shorted, and there's still space and time for us to reclaim what we were shorted from. A lot of us have this tendency to go with the group because it's a group, to go with the group because there's safety in numbers, right? Because you'll always have a support. And I'm not saying that's not helpful. That's definitely a support. But we have to also learn about those things that maybe we can't look to and lean to others for support. Those things are so important. Can you all still hear me? Because I see a couple of comments that says you all can't hear me. I don't blame them. I understand that was done out of fear and survival, but now I'm all about my gifts. Yes, unwrap that box. Thank you for that emoticon. I love it. Unwrap that box. Exceptional Human Award. When you're being exceptional, those people attract themselves to you. Don't they? Don't they? When you decide to step out and be exceptional, the one thing I've noticed is that people who have no interest in being exceptional or seeing you be exceptional, they give you the harshest criticism the quickest. They are the first ones to be like, nah, that's not gonna work. Nah, you can't do that. Wow, what are you thinking about? Are you off your rocker? You can't do that. They're the quickest ones because it's like the universe wants you to know, keep going. That's not, don't stay there. Keep going, right? That until you hear somebody who says what you say, until you're amongst people that can help uplift what you're talking about, don't stop there. That's not a rest stop for you. And it's cool for people at that rest stop, but don't stop there, right? So isn't that beautiful? We are still cultivating community. Absolutely. Okay, beautiful. I'm glad you can hear me. Absolutely. We realize that we're still cultivating community. We're still in a space where we're looking at each other and we're choosing the people who are rocking with us. We're choosing the people who are different from us, but we still are able to vibe in a way that allows all of us to expand. Can you imagine a small group of people, for starters, let's say 6 people, y'all. There's 6 of us. The group of 6 of us, we love each other to pieces, right? We love each other to pieces. We understand each other. We get each other. We vibe. We have known each other different, varying amounts of time, but we rock with each other equally in this group of 6. This group of 6 decides that whenever one of the 6 has an opening, has a showing, is putting something into the world, we blindly support it because we love our 6. We say, yup, I'm gonna let people know. And then we say, you know what you could do, man? Let me help you do this. Are you interested in that? Can I help you do this? Can I add my expertise into what you're doing the same way I add it into what I'm doing so that yours can take off and you don't need me at some point and I don't need you, but we still support each other and rock with each other? Can we take our group of 6 and expand it? It doesn't take much. 6 can turn into several thousand in a heartbeat, you know? And it's like, it's this daunting task that we believe we got to get everybody together to start, but we have to have everybody in the same mind state to begin. All we have to do is know who the people are in the same mind state as us from jump. And then it begins to attract those who are also vibrating or want to be in that same mind state and want to be around powerful people who are living it. So you never say, I want to be like somebody who has a great idea. You want to be like people who are living it. You have evidence that they're living it. So the closing, yes, I have tried. That's so beautiful. Someone told me it's inconsiderate for me to be trying to share my art when so many artists are struggling to make ends meet. But why though? Why though? Sharing your art sometimes can let other artists know, hey, I have something to share, and if she's sharing hers, I can share mine. But it also can be healing for people. It also can attract people to see something visually, not just talk about it, not just hear it, but to see it. It doesn't mean that you're trying to offend someone just because you do something that feels good, right? So here's an exercise for enhancing humanity. For this week, I want everyone to put on the hat of the oracle. Put on the hat of the oracle. I want you this week and forever, if possible, to differentiate and know well the difference between illusion and truth at every stop. Know the difference between illusion and truth at every stop. Stacy, how do I know the difference between illusion and truth? It's simple. You have to work with your own stuff and acknowledge and know and check yourself and expand and share. And know when you are living in your truth, separate from when you are living in your illusion. You can only see an illusion once you know your truth. Otherwise, you're in the illusion with everyone else. Once you know your truth, it informs what is an illusion. And I'm not asking you to run this by anybody. I'm not asking you to ask people, is this the truth? Is this illusion? That's not what I'm talking about. This is a self-reliant activity. Is what I'm seeing the illusion and the truth? When someone asks you a question, asks you to do something, or calls you to action, take a beat and ask yourself, is this illusion or truth for me? Is this illusion or truth for me? It doesn't mean you desecrate what they're doing. You never want to do that. There's a big difference between discernment and judgment, and that's what I'm talking about. We don't have to judge people and call them out and knock them down and publicly shame them and drag them because they have a different experience. Their experience to people who are mastering their self does not dictate other people's experience. It is simply another experience. But when we begin to realize that discernment is knowing what is someone else's experience and what is mine, then we start to step into our power. Somebody's and this is what it is, and this is how they're doing it, and this is why it's happening, and blah, blah, blah. Is that your experience? Don't take my word for it. Experience. Is it your experience? Does it resonate? Do you believe in it? Is it true? And the truth is by your meter, by your gut, by your heart, by your consciousness. And if you're not sure, then what can you do to find out more so that you can form a discernment about something that is beckoning you towards it? Some things are beckoning you away from it. Get away, right? And you have to know if they're beckoning you away for your good or beckoning you away for your detriment, and vice versa. So this week, truth versus illusion. Be about the business of strengthening, knowing your truth so that you can tell the difference from the illusion. And if you feel something's illusion, disconnect from it immediately. I don't care who it is. Disconnect from it and get quiet enough to get back to your truth. You can do this now after we've just been talking for an hour, after we've shared. And thank you so much for sharing. Thank you all so much for sharing. Give yourself an opportunity to see if it's real. And enhance humanity on that level of knowing, and enhance humanity with yourself, and then become the shining example of how that can look. And know that while you're enhancing your humanity, you are making mistakes, you are sticking your neck out, you're trying things, you're being the first to do it, you're being the one who may not know, and let's find out. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me. I'm at Soul Yogini SP. This has been Soul Healing Sat saying, the live, if it saves, will be on the Rebuild Foundation channel as soon as this goes off. If it doesn't, come to StacyPatrice.com for the full episode. I love you. Have a beautiful weekend. Peace. Thank you so much. Peace, y'all.